honestly, that's okay.
The year is 2010. After a failed attempt to soft reboot Sonic for the next era of gaming, Sega didn't really know what to do with him. The guy's playing tennis, he's driving a car, he's in Smash Bros. Now, but it's just not connecting. Okay, first reboot didn't work. What do? Scorched Earth. Side characters. Who needs them? A story? Eggman bad, Sonic good. That's all we need. Roll with it. Entire voice cast that's been with us for half a decade? Fire them. Fire them all. Kick them to the fucking curb! And on November 10th, Sonic Colors released. With a simple story and traditional 2D platforming for older fans, and fast-paced boost gameplay with new power-ups for current fans, Sonic Colors was the next soft reboot the series would see, and the first game in the postmodern era of Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, all this dramatic verbiage about eras and reboots doesn't matter when you're just some dumb 13-year-old boy whose obsession with this blue animal toes the line between furry and not furry. No, all he sees is the next game he wants, and it couldn't have come out at a better time. I don't remember the specifics since it was 12 years ago now, but I do vividly remember that Sonic Colors was the first game that I actively asked for Christmas. I watched the trailers for past games before, but they either were already released or were for consoles that I just didn't own. So, when I saw the trailer for Sonic Colors when it first dropped, my mind was blown. The beautiful pre-rendered cutscene with the upbeat Shoot for the Stars playing in the background captivated my little brain. And for Christmas 2010, I received Sonic Colors for the Wii from Santa himself. It said so on the wrapping paper. I didn't keep it, but I promised it was him. Okay, I wouldn't lie about something like that. I played the hell out of this game, but as time passed and I grew up, at some point I put it down and never picked it back up again. That wasn't until September 7, 2021, when an HD re-release of Sonic Colors blessed our screens and introduced this classic to a brand new generation of fans. Now, I did play the remake when it first came out, but I never completed it. You see, I was doing this drinking challenge where every time I died, I drank, and I ended up getting way too smashed to finish it, but that's neither here nor there.
I'm not going to be able to just puke on command, I promise you. It's not going to happen.
I threw up, you know? The game's story takes place in Eggman's new interstellar amusement park that he's built. I never understand where the hell Eggman gets all the funding to build this stuff. I feel like the only freaks that would want to check something like this out, Sonic and Tails. That's exactly what they do. After meeting an alien species called the Wisps, the duos find that Eggman has been capturing the aliens' planets and harnessing their powers to fuel his whole scheme. Of course, it's up to Sonic to save the day, and that's kind of it. The original Sonic games always had a bare-bones story, but that was more so out of necessity since consoles didn't have the capability for cutscenes and voice acting. Opting to do a simple story in a modern video game is fine, but when you still want characters talking and interacting, you run into scenes where characters are just standing around and dialogue that sounds like it's written by the same people doing MCU movies.
Excuse me, giant killer robot? You want to do this the hard way? Or the easy way?
This all leads to the story of Sonic Colors feeling very childish. This isn't really a bad thing, but it does alienate older fans who want a little bit more depth in their story. I'm not saying that I want Sonic going around kissing humans, but maybe cut back on the Baldy McNosehair jokes.
Who they call Baldy Nosehair.
Baldy Nosehair? That's the best thing I've heard all day.
Plot isn't the only thing Sega changed, though. Gameplay has also been tweaked. As mentioned before, the 2D platforming and 3D boost gameplay has returned from Sonic Unleashed. The main hook of this game, though, are the Wisps. 8 in total, each Wisp houses a special ability that Sonic can use for a limited amount of time. From becoming a laser beam and shooting across the level to becoming a demon spawn and consuming anything in your path, Wisps open up areas of exploration that Sonic wouldn't have access to. This aspect of the game also feeds into another tweak that Sega made. In most Sonic games, each zone has 2 levels, or acts, and ends in a boss battle. Usually there's 6 to 7 zones, and Sonic Colors sticks to that. Where the change happens is in the amount of acts. Instead of 2, each zone has 6 acts and a boss battle. You get to run fast, there's great set pieces, gorgeous visuals, and fun little challenges and puzzles for you to complete. Then there's some that are just, yeah, I beat this one in under a minute. On paper, the addition of more acts is a cool thing. I mean, more levels equals more game. But when half of them are just slow platforming sections or just there for you to grab one red ring, I'd rather have less levels with more content. Oh yeah, speaking of red rings, Sonic Colors game design is definitely to have you replay levels multiple times. This has always been a staple in the series, but with this entry, I just feel like it's a little too much with the introduction of red rings. Each act has 5 red rings for you to find scattered across the level. Some are easy to spot, some are blink and you miss them, and some require a specific wisp to grant access to. But depending on which order you play each zone, since in this game you actually get to choose the order, you might not have unlocked a certain wisp yet, meaning that eventually you're going to have to go back and collect the one ring that you missed. But collectibles have always been a staple in video gaming since the beginning. I'm sure that collecting 180 of these rings is surely worth it. You get more levels to play to unlock the Chaos Emeralds. But no, not in the, secret ending, you go super, defeat Eggman for good type of way. No. You can go supersonic in the levels that you already beat and got all the collectibles. Sure, I guess you can get all S ranks, but I mean, why? All these aspects culminate into a game that feels exceptionally shallow, to the point that it only took me 5 hours in total to beat. Yes, if I spent my time, collected all the red rings, played all the bonus levels, got the Chaos Emeralds, it would have taken me longer. But when the reward is just a pat on the back, there's nothing incentivizing me to go back and replay levels. Even the most fun acts in this game don't hold a candle to the worst in previous titles. Sure, I remember the Japanese-themed aquarium park, or Sweet Mountain with its popcorn-filled roadways. But if you put a gun up to my head and ask me my favorite act from any of these zones, I'm regretting not signing up for life insurance. I know I already talked about the story, but even Sonic seems bored of this all. He constantly has this shit-eating grin on his face and just doesn't shut up.
Are you sure? It says somebody ordered an extra large clobbering topped with everything.
There's no stakes to anything. Even in previous games without much of a story, you can feel this gradual rising of conflict as you make your way to Eggman's base in space to finally put a stop to him. Here, you get to choose where you go next. So sure, you can create a path that makes it feel like you're working your way up to Eggman, but God forbid you choose Planet Wisp as your final act, and this is what you get. I mean, it's beautiful, but not really intense.
Hey, where are you going?
To find Baldy McNosehair, of course. I'm totally calling him McNosehair.
After the dust settled in the console wars and Sega was no longer a competitor, they went ham putting Sonic on everything, especially Nintendo's new handheld console, the Game Boy Advance. And once Nintendo was done with one screen and wanted two, Sonic was right in line to get a game on this new handheld. Sonic Rush released on the Nintendo DS in 2005 by Sonic Team and their partner Dimps. This game sticks to the formula of past 2D Sonic games with fast-paced platforming with multiple paths to get you quicker times, while also introducing some new features like extra attacks, a new character named Blaze the Cat, and the Boost, which has been a staple in modern Sonic ever since. Rush sadly replaces the stylized and emotive sprites from previous games, instead opting to replace them with this low-poly 3D model of characters, which they are kind of vibey, but have nowhere near the same amount of charm as the Advance era sprites. One thing that didn't change, though, is the fact that the music in this game fucking slaps, hiring Hideki Naganuma of Jet Set Radio fame to compose a large portion of Rush's soundtrack. The excellent background sprite work, funky electronic music, and this new 3D art style really gives Sonic Rush its own vibe that still holds up today.
Have a nice ball, you stupid bitch.
Should we try this again?
The story is pretty simple, but still feels more high-stake than Sonic Colors. One day, two universes start to collide, the one that has Sonic in it, and the other one that houses Blaze and her villain, Eggman. Oh. So while Sonic is fighting him, Blaze is fighting our Eggman while being guided around by Cream the Rabbit. Other side characters like Knuckles and Amy pop up here and there, and it really feels like the world is more lived in, I guess. It's always fun seeing Sonic characters get to talk and interact. It's really not something you see a lot in modern Sonic games. And that's where my praise ends. Sonic Rush was actually the first Sonic game I ever beat. I had games before, like Sonic Advance 3, but I was never able to fully complete them. Maybe it was a combination of age and living in bumfuck nowhere, but I actually 100% completed the game, other than getting S ranks because I'm not some freak. Playing it now, though? How the fuck did I manage to beat this? Just like previous 2D Sonic games before, Sonic Rush is brutal. With the inclusion of the boost, this game is the fastest 2D Sonic has ever been. But with this speed, I find myself just getting launched off of platforms on accident, or God forbid, I don't boost, and then I'm just running into enemies. And after the first 2 zones, the level design just gets worse and worse, with constant drop-offs that you are not alerted to that just drain your lives. But the levels aren't the hardest part. Let's talk about special stages. If you've seen my first Sonic video, because I know you have, you know that Sonic games have special stages that are there for you to collect Chaos Emeralds, and this game is no different. And in traditional special stage fashion, these are hell. Sonic runs forward in a half pipe and you move him left and right to collect rings using the DS stylus. There's plenty of obstacles to avoid, and at the end you have to have a certain amount of rings to be rewarded the Chaos Emerald. Of course, the more emeralds you get, the harder each subsequent stage gets. I beat this as a kid? Sonic can barely fit between these spikes. Oh, how was I supposed to know there was an obstacle there? Glad I land on spikes while attacking an enemy I can't avoid. I looked up a video to see if there was any tips and tricks that I could get on this final special stage, and even the guy takes unavoidable damage. You're the pro! Now, thankfully my DS has 3 screens and can run Fortnite, so I was able to abuse save states, but even with this handicap, this was not fun. Speaking of not fun, let's talk boss battles. Bosses in Sonic Rush take 8 hits. 8 fucking hits! I rage quit on the first boss when I first started playing this, just because it was taking so long and he had this one move that just one-shot you and would kill you instantly. Some bosses are just so aggravating and have attacks that I still don't know how to dodge. I had to abuse the save state again on the final boss just because I didn't want to have to restart all the way from the beginning just because he had some BS move that I just can't avoid. I'd say the bosses were the part that I had the least amount of fun until I ran into a little issue. I played the game normally, beat Sonic's story, collected all 7 Chaos Emeralds. It wasn't an easy or fun time, but I did it anyways. But then there's Blaze the Cat, who has another set of 7 zones, just in a different order, and another set of 7 soul gems for you to collect. Beating that unlocks the true ending. I, for good reason, did not want to play through this entire game again, so using this fancy DS that I have, I thought I'd try using some cheats. The first cheat that I used unlocked all of Blaze's levels plus gems, theoretically unlocking the final level. This, for some reason, didn't work. So when I reloaded the DS, all of a sudden, Sonic's story wasn't completed. So in that case, I'll find a cheat that beats all of Sonic's levels and unlocks all of his emeralds. And for some reason, that didn't work. I don't know if I put in the code wrong. I don't know if it was a bad code, but it just wouldn't give me all of Sonic's levels. So I quit. I am 24 years old, using a computer with hardware the DS dreamed it could have just to play this game that is 17 years old. And you mean to tell me I can't get the final ending? This kid beat Sonic Rush with his Onyx Black Nintendo DS Lite with the broken hinge and busted right trigger. And I couldn't.
Is that it?
My gaming journey started at an odd time. Too young to be sentient during the birth of the next generation of gaming, but too old to really have experienced 3D. In the infinite paths of the universe, I could have started my story with any number of consoles. The GameCube, N64, original Xbox, Dreamcast, Atari. Any of these could have set me on a completely different path, but the one that I was destined for was set when I received my PlayStation 2. I don't remember when or why I got this console. Honestly, I don't even remember who got it for me. But I do remember that person got me one game. Sonic Heroes. After the Sonic Adventure series set off the beginning of Sonic's 3D era, the wheels were in motion to create the greatest franchise in the genre. Starting with Sonic Adventure, this game gave Sonic and all his friends a voice and laid the groundwork of how Sonic would operate in 3D. Then in its sequel, they created some series mainstays while making a gripping story that is one of the best in the 30 years Sonic has been around. Now with a good foundation to make the perfect third installment, Sega doesn't make one. To this day, there is no Sonic Adventure 3. But doesn't mean that there's not a perfect edition. In 2003, Sonic Heroes hit shelves, and it's the first Sonic game to be exclusively on third-party consoles. Mainly because Sega stopped making them. I say the game is sort of like Sonic Adventure 3 because canonically it takes place after the events of Sonic Adventure 2. With Shadow being dead, you actually play as a clone of him, but you don't just play as Shadow, no. Sonic Heroes has 12 playable characters. Now, you can't play as any character willy-nilly, but instead they are broken up into 4 different teams. Team Chaotix, Rose, Shadow, and Sonic. With this team setup, you're introduced to this game's gimmick. In the Adventure series, each character plays a little different. I mean, Sonic runs, Knuckles hunts for emeralds, Tails pilots this abomination. But with the teams in Sonic Heroes giving you access to one of 3 characters at any given moment, they had to tweak the gameplay a little bit, and honestly, I'd say it's for the better. Each team has a speed formation, a power formation, and a flight formation. For the speed formation, it's pretty simple. The speed character takes the lead, and you're able to run fast, spin dash, and suck ass. In the power formation, the brawn of the team uses their buddies as weapons to defeat enemies. And lastly, the flight formation is for pussies who don't care about being slow. The team hits a totem pole stance with the flying character at the top. They're able to lift everybody upwards and fly around for a short amount of time. On top of that, they have a move called Electric Shoot that allows them to stun enemies and even destroy them after being leveled up. Oh my god, there's a level up system? Each character is able to level up 3 times by finding these color-coordinated chips? I don't know what to call them. Each level powers up a character's attacks, my personal favorite being the power character's final combo. You can find them randomly throughout the level by defeating enemies or destroying boxes, but you're also guaranteed at least one after doing a team blast. A team blast? While defeating robots or collecting coins, your team blast meter will slowly fill up. Once fully built up, you're able to unleash a devastating team blast that wipes out any enemy on the screen. Each team having their own unique animations to clear out waves. Bro, speaking about waves, the combat, it's so fun. You get a lot of enemies thrown at you, but they have the perfect amount of health. It is super satisfying picking off robots, no matter what formation you're in. How about the different ways to play throughout levels, with each formation giving you plenty of options that feel more engaging than, oops, I just didn't jump at the right time. The options you have as a player are so deep and allow you to play how you want. And while you play, you get to listen to some great music. After the introduction of CDs being used in video games, Sonic has never sounded better with more instruments, clearer sounds, and this fun little feature where certain parts of the song play at certain parts of the level. Even the regular story of Eggman Bad is made more interesting with cutscenes of teams interacting with themselves and other teams all just trying to figure out what is Eggman up to. And of course, there's this secret ending that growing up I never played. Oh my god. All these years I viewed this game, my first game, with such a shining light that I never stopped to think, do I know it? Can I really call myself a gamer if I have never beat the first game I played? Okay, so all I have to do is get all Chaos Emeralds. Seems easy, right? I just grab this key, hit it in each level, complete the level without getting hit. Yeah, I mean, it's hard, but look, I did it. Now what? At least I don't have to collect rings, right? I just grab these balloons that give me a boost, and I catch up to the Chaos Emeralds. But I run fast. That's fine. Oh, wow, these controls are pretty slippery. I mean, even the homing attack is scary to use just because of how inaccurate it is. Fighting formation, I guess. Look, there's a boss that's just wave of enemies. I love the combat. The other bosses are okay. I mean, they reuse them a ton, but I mean, there's strategy, right? Okay, but the final ending, it has to be worth it, right? It has to be worth the month that it took me to play this game from my childhood.
Bro, like, how can you say that this ain't rad as hell? Okay, if I'm being honest, this isn't as cool as Sonic Adventure 1 and 2.
Get all A ranks? Fuck you, game. Fuck you. What do you mean, get all A ranks? I beat the fucking game. Sonic Heroes is the biggest mixed bag that I have ever rummaged through. This game is what set off my obsession with Sonic the Hedgehog, so of course it is difficult to see this game without the lens of nostalgia. The music touches my heart the way that no other video game music has ever done. The gameplay is so familiar that over a decade later, I'm still able to pick it up and play like nothing ever changed. The character interactions and even the janky 3D animation just has this charm that only early 3D Sonic games have. But I can't sit here and tell you that this is a 10 out of 10 game. It feels like it needed more time. You can still clip through the floor, you're constantly sliding off platforms. God forbid you press any button while trying to land on a rail and you'll fall right past it. The bosses are just repetitive spam fests, and that even goes for the final secret ending. This game shines in certain places, and I can't take that away from it, but when the cracks show, it's a bit much. Thank you so much for watching. This video took me forever to edit and record, and at this point, I don't know how I feel towards Sonic. And as we slowly hurtle towards the inevitable Sonic Frontiers, I am here waiting with bated breath as to what will be the outcome. Anyways, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff. What's your favorite Sonic game? How do you feel towards these ones? Anyways, I'll see you in the next one. Whether it's Sonic or not, I'll be here. Sometimes. Maybe.